thank you for inviting us and thank you for this opportunity for all of us to share our experience today morning. Good morning, everyone. I am Vipul. As you have heard the introduction, that I am in 𝗚𝗶𝘂 leading the global transformation in supply chain since last 4 years, and I will share some of my experiences, what we did in 𝗚𝗶𝘂, as well as we talk about some of the things where lot of experience we have in the panel today, that what is happening in the pharma industry or as an industry as a whole in terms of digital transformation today. We will cover some of the basics. So I think one of the good thing is that we have these conferences and we are connecting with each other and sharing experiences. This is something very well needed actually, because it is not about the one company or one industry. Unless until we share the experiences, the total value we gain from each other and take back some of the initiatives we learn from each other to our respective companies, that will be very, 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 very helpful. In fact, we make connections, and some of the routine jobs, we come over here, spending time with each other. That is very, very useful actually. So with this actually, we heard the keynote note from Mr. Sudarshan in the morning today, and I think the key takeaway from us is that he talked about the VUCA word, and it is going to remain in future as well. He also talked about the difference which IT can make in the industry, and he also talked about the role of pharma. And the role of pharma has played during the pandemic. The pharma industry, or especially the Indian pharma industry, has played a role. And the second thing is that he talked about the SCM, the supply chain, how it is disturbed during the last, and what are the measures which IT industry or IT solution, digital transformation can play a role over here. We discuss all those aspects over here. But before going into detail, I think the basic fundamental question is that what is digitization? So some of the things we will discuss very basics. We will not go into details. But this is something, there are some buzzwords which are very frequently used, is that what is digitization, what is digitalization, what is automation. All those things are sometimes used very interchangeably, very flexibly, and sometimes synonymous to each other, but are they real synonymous to each other? So with this, I will just take a point from Mr. Navin first. What is his take on the difference between automation, digitization, and digitalization? And I hope Mr. Atul is hearing us from Delhi. Thank you, Atul, for joining remotely. I will come back to you on this question again as well, but let's speak to Mr. Navin. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. And I think most of the times when we are in IT, we struggle to figure out what is digitalization and what is digital. So in nutshell, what we feel is, if you are trying to do a digital transformation journey, the first step is digitization, by which you convert your physical records into an electronic form. So like I remember when initial days people used to have data entry operators. His work was, somebody has done the transaction, usko tally mein dal do. So that is what used to be known as digitization. Then people were saying, okay, then we should have ability to have a structured data by which you can extract that information on need basis. Somebody has complained, I should know if Navin Singhania has a contract with us, where is that contract lying? So that is, you put into a structured format. So that is step 2. Step 3 would be, can I ask the department to do their transactions themselves and remove the need to have a data entry operator or somebody do a record in manual form, then you convert it to digital form. So there is a step 3. So you have the forms we created. We started having ERPs. We started having solutions by which multi-departmental people will do their work on their table. and everything will get centralized into one single system. So this is the journey when we started talking of digital transformation, right? After that, we said, okay, now we have advanced analytics, we have big data, we have AI. We can make sense of information which is lying in gigabits into a system and nobody knows what is happening. That was the final step of digital transformation, right? So people who did that, they were the front runners in saying, ki now we are digitally transformed. And pharma sector, we had a lot of space. Mr. Sudarshan was talking in the morning about, ability to do remote calling, ability to do telemedicine, ability to order medicines online and then get delivered within 1 hour. So these are the steps with which you are talking of digital transformation, right? And maybe other panelists can add on to what I have said.
Yeah, I think let's go to Delhi first. I think, yeah. Mr. Atul, your thoughts, please. Yeah, on the same topic.
Yeah, thank you, Vipul. I think my fellow panelist, nailed it uh, very aptly. You know, so basically, that's where digitization all starts with. Um, we are in the we should all know and accept that we are into the digital age. So tools using the tools to convert the data into electronic format, it all exists with us. What really, uh, what really is not happening is the automation part of it, right? And even if the automation is happening, it is not yielding the right result. And we will come to that part later. But digitization is all about, in simple terms, if I have to, summarize everything what my panel panelists said, it is about standardizing, it is about streamlining, and you standardize and streamline, and then you automate, which ultimately leads to more productivity, right? More efficiency and effectiveness in whatever you do, consistency, reduction of human errors. So digitization is all about, taking away the human intervention from day-to-day activity. Now, if you go on the more hyper form of digitization, it is called RPA, robotic process automation, and it is happening in various parts of the pharmaceutical industry in different areas. Now, digitalization or digital world or digital business is a far more bigger term, right? And and it should not be confused with the term digitization. Digital transformation or a digital business has a consumer centric view. It has it deals with new business models, it deals with new revenue models, new product, new services, right? And different customer experience. Let me give you an example of a digital business. What is it all about? Look about Uber Eats, right? I'm giving you out of the industry example. Look about Amazon, um, Amazon retail, right? If you look at Amazon retail and Amazon retail, what it does is it provides you a platform, and where the buyer and the seller can come together and do the selling, and then with help of the other ecosystem partners, they are doing the business. Right? It is totally a new business model. Nobody would have even thought about it in the past, right? Like business e-commerce would be happening in this way. So this is an excellent example of digital transformation, digital business transformation. The same things are happening in different parts of the pharmaceutical industry or the healthcare industry. Telemedicine, as Mr. Sudarshan said, that's one area. Virtual patient care, which is happening, that is that again is happening. And digital is pervasive in our lives. Social media. You look at the social media, people are hooked onto it, right? Look at the amount of information available. So digital transformation is about new business models, new revenue models, new product, new services. That's all I have to say, Vipul.
Yeah, great. So, I mean, great. I think this clarity, as you both are bringing, Naveen and Atul. This is very much important. Sometimes we take the projects, we take the initiatives, and which bracket this falls. Why it is important is that to understand that what exactly the real objective is, and we are on the right direction or not. So all those finer details between automation, digitization, digitalization, I was thinking that I will be able to pronounce even correctly or not. So, definitely, this finer details, the finer lines between all those things are very, very need to be fined even further going forward. Because if we use these terminologies interchangeably, the impact, the objective, and everything downstream will get impacted, and that is something we are trying to a little bit fine tune over here. But at the same time, so let's move ahead. Mr. Sheikh, Mr. Sheikh, your extreme experience in the distribution area. I mean, just want to understand from you how distribution, from point of view, the technology is playing a role. Though the technology is playing a role since many years, it is not new something. But what is the recent changes, or what is the development and still unmet need in the distribution area which technology is still not able to do? Just some of your thoughts, yeah.
Good morning, everyone. This is Masud from Olympic. Yes, from distribution point of view, yeah, we have come much ahead what we were earlier. When Mr. Sudarshan was speaking, I was the part of that particular team when we used to discuss every morning on the difficulty what we are facing in pandemic. And we were trying to ensure that the supplies are correct, the demand is absolutely fulfilled. But the most important thing which actually we felt that time and now too, the basic thing was a visibility. Now visibility up to the stockist level and up to the retailer level. So demand was not been able to fulfill because we never know what stock and which kind of sales was happening at what area. And that was the basic difficulty for a distribution side when we sat. And that was the reason why the demand was absolutely imbalanced. The things which we had to send to West Bengal was selling in Guwahati. When it was in Guwahati, it was in Coimbatore and XYZ and all the cities. So there we felt that I2 should have been playing much vital role than today. How can we totally connect right from retail to stockists to distribution companies, and how can we have a visibility? Likewise, what we have today, visibility in FMCG, we are lacking in pharma industry, for sure. Every company today doesn't know what stock is being held by the stockist, whether he is entering into the system. There are so many times we have seen that the stock statement what we receive from the stockist, he says, boss, I have not entered my sales only the stocks has been entered, and so on and so forth. So how can we connect with single platform to all this channel which we have in distribution, and how can we have a better visibility? Once that visibility comes and once that connection comes, automatically the demand can be much more. And whatever digitalization what we talk about, automation we talk about, it is basically only at the HO level. But at the ground level, there is totally a different scenario. And there is where the companies are struggling today. There are many organizations or many institutes who's been able to connect this, but still we are yet struggling it. So once we get that connection, automatically that automation and digitalization is going to play a vital role. So this is what is from the distribution side which I'm going to talk about.
Definitely, I mean, great points. The visibility point you talked about, the visibility is the first thing to be solved. And if the kind of technology we are available, if we cannot solve that visibility piece, it means we are not doing the right job. And there might be, whatever be the concerns are, whatever be the things are, things need to change, because unless until the visibility will improve, the count of hidden problems, like whether it is counterfeiting problems or whether it is stock out at one location or one geography and too much of stock is lying and expiring at one other location, all those stops need to be optimized. So this is something has happening very fast pace, but is it reached up to the optimal level? I think there is a question mark. So we'll pause over here on distribution piece, but really let's get the experiences from Manish now. So Manish is now leading the CIO role for 𝗏𝗏𝗏, but at the same time he is the digital health expert. So Manish, we want to hear a little bit more about the digital health piece, what exactly this is, and in the vaccine piece, which we are hearing in the morning, what has happened? So some more deep insights, how it has happened, and how the digitization and automation is playing a role in terms of vaccine availability and more from you. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Good morning, all. Thank you, Vipul, for this question. So I'll touch base on the dotted lines, starting from Mr. Sudarshan, what has happened across. When we talk about digitization, we should see what is the background work which has been done, especially in the government sector and some of the companies who are the front runners. The engineering and architecture is one thing which is very, very important. If you see one piece, 3Ds, democratization, you are able to open an app, log into it, book a slot, go to the center, take the vaccine and come out. It's very easy to see. But what is the engineering behind it? You should also look at it. So when we look at those pieces, we should look at in our pharmaceuticals, what is happening. It's a very old and legacy systems we are carrying forward. Should we connect the dots? When we talk about digitization, we only talk about, okay, let's digitize this function. But we don't talk about the connected dots for each of the function. We don't make an architecture of what is happening of it. Is it adding value to it? So when we say I digitize, what is the value? Can I take a decision out of it? So let's say a factory, there is a historian there which is calculating all the data, machinery data which is there, the drug development which is happening across, the supply chain distribution. So we should try to democratize all these things, look at collaboration with the startups. Let's look at how the e-commerce have won the space because they have brought the omni-channel into it. So can we bring that kind of system into our CFAs, distributors or the pharmacists all across who uses one single platform so that we have that inventory view? I think we were, 𝗏𝗏𝗏, as a 𝗏𝗏𝗏, we were the front runners in vaccines in UK and Europe. So that we had a visit of Prince Charles and Boris PM of UK to our factory to see how we did the vaccines, and we were the front runners in it for it. Also at the same time, we should see when we talk about automation. Automation is something that is reducing my effort towards what is the manpower doing? Can I do it? So a drug development, let's say, takes 11 years or 15 years. Vaccine was developed in 1 year. So like Mr. Sudarshan Jain was saying, we can do parallelly a lot of work. So Mr. Atul also touched upon the RPA side of it. So looking at all the angles of it, we should look at the automation, but also automation is bringing to me what is value creation that we are doing to it. And that value is connected and seen as a visibility by the top management. So let's say I am having analytics which is required for me. So that is what digital health is, what Mr. Sudarshan was talking about, electronic medical records. So which government is trying to put into place where you have a digital health ID, a UHID like a UPI ID, which is being created for every citizen. So you don't have to register every place. You just show your ID and that ID is being used as a unique number as a Aadhaar ID or your employee ID which is there. But that is unique throughout the country. Now all the prescriptions that is being given by the doctor to him, that is being recorded in those electronic health records. All the laboratory reports, that is to be there. So right now that NHA is building that complete funnel across, and it has been rolled out with the health ID as first piece. Registration of the hospitals, the clinics, all the healthcare facilities are on, all healthcare consultants and practitioners registry is on. So what we are trying to do, creating a database for everything, which is connecting all the dots across. So digital health is connecting all the dots, making sure everything is available to you on your phone or on a click of a button. That's what it is.
Thanks. I think that's great. I think lot of hopes, lot of expectations, lot of things are done, a lot more to be done. Now coming back to Navin. Navin, I mean, just a basic question. You are having experience not only in the pharma, you are FMCG, you have seen the world of, I mean, the kind of diverse background you have in the cross industries, whether it is food industry or pharma or telecom even. So what is the common things or what are the differences according to you from the, as far as the digital transformation is concerned in the pharma industry versus the rest of the industry? What are the common things and what are the differences?
So I'll start with differences. So in FMCG, you have a product which you are able to sell as per your wish. I was been working with levers, so I'll give an example of Lux soap. Lux soap is available in the market. I can take 𝗔𝗍𝗃 and say 𝗔𝗍𝗃 uses Lux soap, so you also start using it, right? In pharma, you can't do that. You can't say कि 𝗔𝗍𝗃 ने vaccine लगाई थी आप भी लगा लो, you know? So that is difficult. So in the biggest problem I think which pharma faces, and coming from outside perspective I would say, is we can't tell what we make. You know, in the market, nobody knows, very few people will know what Pfizer makes or what 𝗚𝗔 makes or what 𝗚𝗏 makes, right? Because those are only known to the doctor community. We have an MR who used to earlier go with a briefcase and a visual aid and tell to doctors that this is a product and these are the doses and these are the side effects. And doctor will decide whether he'll prescribe brand X or brand Y. Patient has no control on that one. Patient even cannot figure out that brand X is cheaper than brand Y, so I should take brand Y, you know. That also he can't decide. So we, in pharmaceutical sector, we've always been doing influence the doctor, your sales will always come. In telecom, there's a different story. There is no product, you are selling air. So you go to Airtel, you go to Voda and you say, I want to buy prepaid, how many GB you want, how much talk time you want. Completely different, completely service-oriented infrastructure, right? So if you see in telecom, all we did was create systems which will provide services to the customer. So you have taken plan X, these are the details. This is how much you have used, this is how much is balanced. So don't call. Each call which lands on a telecom network from the customer is at least 6 rupees 50 paise per minute. This is the cost of putting the infrastructure behind a call center, right? So in telecom, we always resist people from calling us. In pharma, you have people calling about adverse reactions, and those are very seriously taken. So we need to have a different type of infrastructure by which any adverse event which is reported has to be addressed within 24 hours. There's a guideline which has been given to us. So that requires a different type of IT infrastructure कि कोई AE आया है, it has to reach to the right person within no time so that action can be taken within 24 hours. So that's a different thing, right? And in what else I would say in difference and similarity? Similarity wise, of course, I would say pharma is now evolving. In last 4 or 5 years, the technology investments which have happened in pharma sector are, you know, immense. People have been investing on CRM, people are investing on SFEs, people are investing on iPads, people are investing on deep data analytics, clinical trials, people are using advanced analytics and machine learning for that. So those are things which have helped us in the growth sector. Yeah.
Thanks. I think this is very important, that what we can learn from the cross industries and what is the similarities and what are the differences, and we design our solutions and strategy according to our uniqueness, the industry uniqueness, the company level uniqueness, the product level uniqueness, and all those things need to be very well taken care while designing our projects, our initiatives, our programs in digital transformation. So moving ahead, over to, again, to Atul. Atul, a very specific question. We need some examples of the companies who have really digitally transformed, and what is the key success factors behind that? Sometimes these terms are used like buzzwords or kind of a boardroom, only the showcases, the ground realities are different, but there are, on the other hand, there are few companies who have really transformed. So just your thoughts on this aspect as well as some examples.
Thank you, Vipul. I think that's a very, very loaded question. Um, I earlier, I mean, specific to a pharmaceutical or a healthcare industry, I won't have any specific examples of a digitally transformed organization or an organization which I call, it's a digital business, right? But I will first talk about, the part of digital, the digitization or the digitized processes or the digital processes that have been laid out into healthcare industry and in the pharmaceutical industry, which have really helped the organization. So let's talk about this the patient reach. So now, what most of the healthcare organizations and pharmaceutical companies are doing is they're trying to invest into improving their reach to the customer, right? So they are investing in contact centers, which run most of the operations in an automated way. And I can give you an example. What are those automated contact centers look like? It would include your virtual bot assistant or chatbots, right, which would handle 60% of the customer queries, right, on its own before passing it on to the agent. Correct? That's really kind of a robotic process automation which works on a rule based. That's one thing. Second thing is the customer reach is one area. Second thing is how do we improve the patient care remotely, right? You can see the advancement happening in the health apps and the health devices, right? Those are examples of the digital transformation or the model, the new digital model that the companies are inventing. You see those health devices, you just put on wearable devices with smart sensors. You put on your wrist, on your arms, or you do a testing and it will feed you with results of your health condition, and it will send it over to your doctor or to the nearby hospital, who can then look at it and then let you know what you have to do and what you don't have to do. There are various such digital solutions available all over there, right? Now, these healthcare companies or healthcare organizations with these healthcare apps, they operate in a phygital model, right? That phygital is the new business model, right? So patient care and customer reach is something which is happening. Other thing that the companies are trying to do, trying to automate, is trying to get more actionable insight about the business, which is where are they spending and how are they spending, right? And how to optimize that spend. Correct? That part of the automation, if you see, that is more of an internal facing, right? It is more towards improving the revenue, reducing the cost. Correct? That's more of an inward facing. So remember one thing. So digital. When you look at digital transformation, it starts with digitization, and then you move on to digitalization, right? You will, unless you have digitization in place, digitalization is not going to come. Is not going to work. That's number one. That's the most important thing we need to remember. And you asked me what is the most important point in order to undertake a digital transformation. Well, that is not easy. First and the foremost thing is the mindset. People should not expect result over the period of 1 month or 3 months or 6 months. Digital transformation is a continuous journey, right? It's a continuous journey. People and organizations who are not doing it today will be forced to do it tomorrow. The choice is whether they do it now or they will get left behind. There are challenges in the pharmaceutical industry. I agree with Manish. It's a very highly regulated. Before we do anything, we have to be sure that we are passing on the right message. There is privacy of the data subject and all that kind of stuff. But as I said, I gave you certain examples of digital business model. Most importantly, when you start with the digital transformation, it has to start from the top. You can't take a bottoms up approach. Correct? Most of the organization, if you see consider this big organizations, right? They have a lot of legacy technology, and with legacy technology, legacy infrastructure, it is very, very difficult to get onto the bandwagon of digitization or even thinking of digitalization, right? When before you get onto digitalization journey or digital transformation journey, you should ensure that you have a unified process, you have a unified data, right? Which is massaged so that data can be consumed, and it can be massaged and action upon by the artificial intelligence engine, and then derive the actionable insights and automation. You can do it most. And one important thing before I pass the mic on, as people rightly said, my fellow panelists, innovation, the best source of innovation comes from industries other from different industries. Okay, you if you look at the data, um, the banking and the financial services industry, if you look at the amount of the revenue they generate from the digital sales, right, that is 30-40%, that is more than 50% of their overall revenue. Now compare that with most of the pharmaceutical, it is hardly around 10 to 15%. So you will know what is really happening. Lot of legacy, lot of old processes. It is very difficult to change those. Reason being, there are regulations. And people are skeptical and people move slowly. That's all I have to say.
I mean, great thoughts. I think very rightly said, Atul. I think you trust in between the various change management pieces. Whether it is you talked about the top-down approach, whether you talked about whether it is nice to have or must-have thing, digitization and digitalization. You also talked about what come first, digitization first, and then followed by the digitalization, and all those things you talked about very well. One thing I always say, because when I used to meet various people in various forums, within company, outside companies, they say that this AI ML thing and all those things are buzzwords not working for us. That is true. I mean, the reason, the one of the reason is the quality of data. So what my suggestion is that don't be afraid of that whether it is resulting good or not. What is important is that are you capturing your data today right? Because that is your base for tomorrow. That will be the base for 2025 and beyond. Are your processes and data correction steps are right? That is the first job and the most important job for any CIO. Because not only within the industry, your partners, your ecosystem, everything should have the capturing, start capturing everything which makes sense, which might be used as a decision making and the faster decision making. We have seen the expectation in the morning. We have seen the expectation that how can we reduce the drug discovery time? How can we reduce the cost of serving the patients by not repeating the tests again? How can we correlate and try to investigate that what may be the probable regions based on the patient history? We are talking about the digital records again and again in the panel. So a lot of things, are we starting the data capturing right? These techniques, these technologies will keep on improving even further. Even whatever be the state these technologies are, the adoption, the utilization in the optimized way is still minimum. With this, I think again back to Mr. Manish. So what is your real thoughts, or I mean, whether in terms of drug discovery or in terms of the expectations which we have heard from Mr. Sudarshan Jain in the morning, how do you feel that this is really possible? How much realistic those expectations are?
I think with technology coming in place, it is very realistic. And there are few technologies that can be used. One is the data which is collected at the drug discovery phase is not in gigabytes, it goes in petabytes. Now when the data goes in that, you require a lot of computing power. And I think that's how the quantum computing comes in place. So we should be looking at those technologies adoption, especially in pharma, if we want to leapfrog from this place to next 10 years faster. Second thing is we should look at digital twins. That is the thing, because then you don't hurt patients with all the testing. You create an environment where you create all those aspects that can be tested faster, and all the data points are being collected for it. And not escaping the regulatory aspects of it, we should also look at automation of those processes, so that whatever the manual interventions or manual bugs are being, that can be removed out of it. Although we have great scientists across, we do a lot of the computation power. We can use a lot of computation power to understand how the effect of drug is coming out. And there are a lot of algorithms and calculations that are being used. That's where I think a lot of startups, a lot of great minds, young minds are working on together. Can we collaborate with them? So although it's IP based, but we should also look at, can we use those tools to quantify your journey from 15 years to 2 years and 1 year to 6 months. That's how we can bring the betterment for the citizens of the world, for disease eradication or reduction of the disease burden that we have. We should work, I think 𝗏𝗏𝗏, we are working separately on the drug discovery, especially on the critical care and diabetes. I think that's the most critical of them. And I think a lot of companies have started working on research and development for it, which is a good thing for India. So at least in coming days, if we start adopting it, please don't underestimate the power of technology. It can be adopted. But at the same time, what I recommend is, please allocate budgets for it. Don't think that quantum computing comes very cheap to it. So it is part of your investment in research. I think that's what I can say.
Great. I think we have last 8 to 9 minutes. We will have to open for the questions as well. And we should have a round of questions. But Mr. Shaikh, just one last question, a very quick question from you is that in the distribution space, you thought some of the challenges. So we want to hear from, in short, what are the reasons for these challenges? Because the technology is available, why we are not able to plug those challenges with the use of technology? What is the change management issues, or what is the real ground level challenges the industry is facing where these challenges cannot be met faster?
So the basic challenges which I spoke about was visibility. The second thing is basically today we are totally depending on the sales force. The entire sales come from the sales force. They go and convince the doctors, and basically the prescription comes from the doctors. But today we don't know whether are they hitting a right customer, are they going to a right doctor, is the prescription coming from those doctors, from those particular areas, and so on and so forth. Besides that, let me tell you the importance of technology in distribution space, which we implemented in Alembic. Basically, because of this sales force, maybe what you call as dumping in a very simple state, there was certain people or certain force which was actually trying to do only primary sales and not focus on the secondary numbers. We decided to take automation in this space, and one of the startup company came with a proposal saying that you can have a business limit to each stockist. And this business limit usually into SAP was at the corporate level. We were not aware at the division level how should we go about. But this particular startup company gave us a solution which actually told us that even at the division level, what kind of limit you can set up for a stockist, how much he can buy, what kind of capping you can put, what kind of average he has in last 6 months, 1 year, based on that algorithm, how can you make a business limit into a perspective, and then how can you control that particular billing portion also. And I think we were very much successful. based on that business limit and capping up that limit to each stockist. And let me tell you, the inventory which was running around 45 to 50 days came down to 28 days. Let me tell you that.
That's great.
So this was only possible because of this technology which a startup company gave us. And this is the way the technology and digitalization can help a company to control their inventory, control their sales, and control this kind of limits. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think that's really good examples and the kind of the things are happening. The things are happening. The results are coming. The need is just to more fast track and more optimized, cross-functional. I think you talked about it is not about in silos, within function limits or within this. So with this, I think now we have time, 5 minutes more for some questions from any one of us. Yeah, and it is not about questions. I mean, your thoughts about the topic of today or how you feel or anybody has any points to make, please. Yeah.
Hey, hi, good morning, Praveen Nair from Mummy Organics. So, just talking about automations, actually we are talking about Industry Revolution 4. So, I have this question for the panelists. Talking about the life cycle of the entire product, till the consumption that takes place at the patient's end. How are you integrated as a company, starting from the production planning till it gets consumed? That's the first question that I would like to ask. And what are the challenges that you face in automation, basically? Because there is a lot of integration that would happen in the entire life cycle. So the challenges in terms of automation, the challenge in terms of the management alignment towards automation. That is what is the second question. And third would be, if you're connected to your partners, there are a lot of partners that you have when you're talking about automations, how are you connected to them? Because we never got a call for a business. So we had to get in touch with the partners, like we had to get in touch with the purchase team. So we are not actually connected to the entire network per se. So these are the questions, and I need your point from you all.
So I think any one of us can take, but I think the question is very great. I think the question, this is the question. If we elaborate in detail, this is the need, because what are the challenges, how to start, where to start, and how to navigate through it, whether in terms of searching the partners, whether in terms of searching the right technology, how to drive the change management. Some of the things I think Atul has already mentioned about this. So let me start to give
just to add, actually, I just want to know, there are third party. We are talking about tele vendors now. We are talking about NetMeds or Tata MG. Are those searches getting converted to a production planning? That is what we are talking about, isn't it? So is this happening, or we are just talking? As you rightly said, it is just a hawa hai, IR4 ki baat kar rahe hain, automation, that's it.
Manish, you want to take or otherwise?
Okay, so you rightly said these e-pharmacies have come across, but they are really not integrated as of now. They are not giving any APIs to connect, and for the inventory visibility or the sale visibility, it comes only in batches. So we'll have to find, as I said earlier, a kind of a platform that converges together, which not only talks about e-pharmacies, but your pharmacies. That's how your ecosystem will get connected. We are still far behind, although the life cycle will have, but life cycle also has a missing angle of patient support system, which has to be connected. So we'll have to look at, does the regulatory and compliance aspect gives us that liberty to do that or not? Because we do a lot of research at the time of clinical trials, we do all those recordings, but only at the end of the day, ADRs get recorded, not anything else.
Yeah. Navin, yeah.
And even on this partners which you're talking, Masud was talking about integrating the secondary sales. There are companies who are already getting data from IMS and IQVIA, and we get this information at distributor level. Only thing which is missing is a analytics platform. Many companies don't invest on that. I have data from SAP basis primary, I have data from my SFA tool, say Viva, I have data from secondary sales coming up, I have distributor information, I have information about how many people, how many doctors I have visited, how many doctors have visited which webinar, how many doctors are there who are coming to my platform just as a delegate. Information is available everywhere in desperate manner. But if I say, do you have a single view of an HCP, which says that these are the touch points on which I have connected with him, through LinkedIn maybe, or through Facebook, or through Instagram. But people don't invest on that layer which will put everything together in the data lake and then come out with advanced analytics using 𝗏𝗏𝗀 or Tableau. So this is the piece which is missing. And those companies who are investing in those are getting the benefit out of it. Then they know, okay, this is which is happening. Here is a doctor which is a key opinion leader, but I am not meeting him. I have met him only once in last 6 months. Therefore, he is not prescribing my products. So this information has to be then taken in that understanding, where will I put all this information which is lying in different places into one data lake and then figure out what I want.
Yeah,
I think the question is that whether we reach over there is not, is it a technology limitation or is it something more than that? I mean, is it because the technology is available? When you are talking about that integrated control towers are not possible, that is available. But there is something more which is need to be plugged. So I think Mr. Shaikh can talk about.
When we talk about e-pharmacy and NetMed and all, the space which they have captured is only 4 to 5% today. Still 95% is yet to capture in pharma industry, and we don't have that kind of technology where we can create those kind of platform and know what is happening rest of the, we only have 5% visibility, and 5% visibility is not enough to take the entire decision. So once this e-pharmacy and other players actually grow upon, and I don't know whether the current association will allow them to do, but then it's a challenges today for a pharma industry. How can we connect those dots which our panelist has told?
So Masud, actually, NetMeds or whatever we are talking about is just an example to say how we are integrated or how are we looking at. Thing is that there are various partners, not only from the supply angle at the purchasing, the sales side. I'm talking about the purchasing end as well. I mean, the entire chain, the supply chain, they are not getting connected anywhere, actually speaking. So the challenges may be like we are not doing the required automation, as he has said that Vipul has said that we have all the technologies available, but we are not using it. So is it a challenge that we are not able to cope up with the automation, or are there any management angle to it where there are challenges where we come with a capital investment, nothing is happening on that particular area?
Let me tell you, today for Alembic, we are dealing with 3,000 stockists, for example. And all these 3,000 stockists are using a separate platform. They have a total different technology what they're using it. So connect them, bringing them to one particular platform and then doing it, it's a vast task today, and it's a challenge. And for so many pharma company, having their own kind of SAP system or whatever system they use, giving those programs to the customer who's actually working for 30 odd companies as a stockist is really difficult for them too. So there is a challenge at the market level today. How can a company who can integrate this is more important, How can all the companies, all the industry comes together and make one single platform which can be used only for supply chain, and once that integrate, automatically this is going to be connected. That is what I have to say. And thank you so much, Varsha. And I'll have to leave because I only have 2 minutes time.
I think we are towards the end. But I think again, just to sum up, I think it is not about. Whether when we say that various technologies are used by the various stockists and distributors, even that is a lesser big challenge. The challenge is that even if on the same technology, are everybody ready to share the data? I mean, we have to talk about the point is that if it is not today, tomorrow they have. It is not about the competition, about the one supplier with other or one company with other. Tomorrow, the competition will be within the supply chains. Which supply chain is more robust and which supply chain is end-to-end connected? So, whether it is by choice or by force, we have to go there. Companies has to come forward with the ecosystem of connected supply chains. Technology, even in different platform, can be connected today, even today. Yes, if it is on the same platform, in the same SKU code throughout, all those things can be, much better integration, but still there are technologies to connect even disintegrated systems today. But that is the less bigger a challenge. With this, I think we have to end, and thanks, special thanks to, I think, Atul, who have joined us from Delhi and be patient with us, and lot of good thoughts and lot of good discussions. But we will be around in the today. We can have offline chats as well. Thanks to my co-panelists again, and thanks to the organization for inviting us and hearing us. Thank you.
Vipul, before we end, I just want to, share something.
Sure.
We heard a lot of problems, right? Industry problems, integration problems, right? The problem which is there within the industry, the industry will have to come together, right? They will have to harmonize the process, standardize the process, right? And whether what you want to do, it's your company's vision, right? Now, if Mr. Masood's company did something in order to reduce the inventory time, correct? It was their vision that they had their problem and they had to invest money into it. So that is very much necessary. And one thing it's very much necessary for all of us to understand is, when you start doing all these kinds of stuff and you start creating new business models, new integration models, right, and try to automate the thing, it will take a lot of strain on your existing system. Your existing IT team may not be capable enough, or they might have the bandwidth to do all these things. And that's the reason why I said this has to be driven from the top. A mandate will not do. It has to be led from the top. It has to be led and constantly monitored and given the right amount of attention and investment into this. Technologies are all there. The reason why other industries have flourished so much, right, it's because they had the will and they had the technologies in place, right? That's all I have to say.
Thanks. I think with this we are overshooted by 5 minutes. Sorry about that, but thank you. It was really a wonderful discussion. Thank you everyone.